Hey everyone, it's Jason. So for today's unboxing, we're going to go over the Cartoon Network Crossover Crisis, the Orange Box, which is the base deck building game, and then the Annihilation, Animation Annihilation second game. It is a standalone expansion. You can buy either one and play them completely, or you can buy both and you can mix them together. And so far, these are the only two main Cartoon Network ones they've released. And this game is based off of deck building games. It's based off like the DC Comics one. It's the Cerberus engine. So there's other games in the same style, like Lord of the Rings, Street Fighter, and Naruto. But they all play a little bit differently. They can mix and match, but outside of like the same type, like the Cartoon Network ones work really well together. But like the DC one could get mixed in with this, but there's a little bit of differences here and there that would make it kind of odd. Although that being said, saying there was one other one that had Teen Titans Go, which kind of blurs the line between the DC one and the Cartoon Network, because it is a cartoon version versus the comic book one, but it has the DC characters. Alright, so we're going to do this video, we're going to go over both of them, since once I've explained the basics, kind of going over the rules and stuff, and start going over some of the cards, it'll go pretty fast, and then I think if you're going to pick up one, you're probably going to pick up the other. Now, that being said, there's a lot of characters and cartoons in here that I know I grew up with, or at least, in my teenage years, because these are all newer-ish cartoons, at least to me. And then there's some that I know about, but I've never really seen or watched. So I might not know who all the characters are, or lots of lore, or any of that stuff behind them. But we'll see what happens. Alright, so in our book here, we have the basic idea of a deck building game is everyone starts with a bunch of really simple starter cards. So in this set, you start with punches and pratfalls, which we'll go over what they'll do in a moment. There's a bunch of other different cards. There are oversized character cards, weakness cards, Nemesis, heroes, locations, superpowers, villains, equipment, jokes, events, all these different cards. And what you're doing is you're going to spend points to purchase more cards to make your deck better over time, hence deck building. This is compared to, like, let's say if you're playing Magic the Gathering or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or Pokemon, a game like that, which is called a constructed card game, where you sit down by yourself, you build the deck up, and then you go somewhere and you play it. This one, everyone is building their deck at the same time. So what you do is you have a main deck of cards, which will be filled up with all these other ones. And you draw a lineup, and my book wants to keep flipping open on me. You make a lineup of 5 cards, and then you have some other stacks here. So what you're doing is you're going to purchase cards during your turn. Each turn you play your entire hand, and then you buy cards, or you fight villains, or however you want to classify it, because our Nemesis over here you can try and defeat. But you spend power points to basically gain new cards or defeat different cards. And then they go to your deck. And then then when you have to eventually reshuffle your deck will be stronger. And there's cards like you get rare cards and things like that. So that's basically the idea of it. There are a few differences. I'm not going to go over every single setup and all that stuff. But there are a few differences from the DC game. But like, this is basically an example. So if you have a pratfall, which offers you no points, but then you have 3 punches, or 4 punches, to give you 4 power, you can buy a card that has 4 power. As simple as that. You can destroy cards with special weaknesses. We'll go over all that stuff as we kind of go through. So basically, the point of the game, it's a semi-cooperative, competitive game. Because you are playing against, you're kind of working with other players because you want to defeat the Nemesis cards before the main deck runs out. But you're also competing against each other to gain the most victory points. Whoever defeats the most Nemesis probably is going to have the most. But you can gain them from buying other cards and doing other stuff. So there are a few differences, like I was saying, from the other games. There are the weakness cards in like the DC one are just bad cards. They don't in themselves do anything. They just don't let you, they don't give you any bonuses. In this set, every single weakness card is different and has a different effect. There are also special event cards, which will come out, and when you draw them, you automatically have to play them and do something. This also being a Cartoon Network kind of like more kidsy game, has some physical or verbal actions that you might have to do during games. Some of them are such as playing rock paper scissors or doing a fist bump. There are other cards that might tell you to like maybe sing or don't talk or you can't say something. And that's just some of the differences in that. Then in the expansion, or not the expansion, the second set, it's all the same exact type of stuff. They didn't really do anything different. They just added some different keywords in there, which is, if I can find it, they added some ongoing stuff, like attacking defense cards. They added a little bit more verses to it. And then they added this Wonder ability. It allows you to reveal cards from the top of your deck until you reveal non-event, non-location, and add that to the lineup. So basically it's a way to add extra cards in there. And this kind of shows you how you can mix cards together, the decks together if you want. Different ways to do that. Yeah, so fairly simple. So just a quick rerun over how the turn works. Turn sequence, fill up an empty slot if there are any. Resolve all events of your choosing. Play all weakness cards in your hand. Then you play your cards. Basically, do all the other stuff. Then you play your cards. Total up your power. Purchase cards with a power equal to or less than your total. You may play additional cards even after making purchases. So you can buy like one card, and then you can choose to decide if you want to buy another card. And as soon as you buy a card, it goes to your discard pile. End of your turn. Now it's your turn is over. Place any remaining cards in your hand to your discard pile, in case you didn't want to play them for some reason. Resolve any acting your turn effects. Place all the cards you have placed in your discard pile. Unspent power is lost. Draw 5 new cards. And then flip the face Nemesis stack up, and then the next player goes. But it says do not shuffle your discard pile and make your new deck just because you have no cards. Wait until you must draw, discard, or reveal a card from your deck. And that's important because there are some things that'll work with whether your deck is empty or your discard pile is empty, so you don't want to shuffle that until you have to. And the game ends when you're either unable to flip any Nemesis, so you've beaten all the Nemesis, or you're unable to refill all 5 slots, so the main deck is empty. And it's like you kind of want to win by defeating the thing, but another justifiable way if you're competing against each other is to just run the deck out of cards. Alright. So let's look at our cards. So first we're going to start with these big oversized cards. So here's a regular sized card compared to an oversized card. You can see how much bigger it is. These are the players that you get to play as. In the DC one, you have players like Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, so on and so forth. And here you get to play as the Cartoon Network characters. On the bottom of the cards here, they'll tell you what show they're from, and this will be representative of every card in the game. It'll tell you what show it comes from, so you don't have to try and remember. Clearly, Johnny Bravo, though, comes from the show Johnny Bravo. So he has a special ability that says, you pay 1 more to buy female heroes and female villains. The first time you play a female hero or female villain, during each of your turns, you get +2 power. So it costs you more to purchase female characters, but they also give you an extra bonus when you do use them, so they're kind of worth it later. We have Mordecai and Rigby from the regular show. You pay 1 less to buy rock, paper, scissors cards. For each round of rock, paper, scissors you play during your turn, +1 power. So this is what makes these cards kind of interesting, is you can always skip them the first time you play if you just want to learn how to play the game. But then when you start using these cards, they kind of sort of want you to kind of tailor your deck a certain way. So like Johnny Bravo is going to want to try and get female cards because he gains bonuses. Mordecai and Rigby are going to try and want to get cards with rock, paper, scissors. We have Clarence from Clarence. During each of your turns, the first time you discard a card from your hand or pass a card, draw a card. We got the Water Sings from the Amazing World of Gumball. Pay 4 power to gain the top card of the main deck. If you gain the event this way, ignore it and remove it from the game. So they get basically a free purchase. I mean, you could buying a 1 or a 2 cost card, but you can end up buying a 5 or a 6 cost. We have Jack from Samurai Jack. First time you play a defense card, each of your turns, draw a card. Or discard a pratfall to avoid an attack. We have Courage from Courage the Cowardly Dog. +1 power for each card you discard from your hand during your turn. Steven Universe from Steven Universe. Each time you play a superpower during your turn, look at the top card of your deck. You may discard it or leave it. Finn and Jake from Adventure Time. You pay 1 less to buy fist bump cards each time you fist bump a foe, which a foe would be any other player. You may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. And we got Dexter from Dexter's Laboratory. +1 for each equipment you play during your turn. Now, on the boxes, they are going to have potentially a thing that says first printing promo inside. If it does not have this, you will not get a special promo card. If it does say that in the box, you will get DD. So I'm just showing up, it does say giant promo in there. So if your box doesn't say it's printed physically on the box, it's not like on the wrapper on the outside, it's not a special sticker. This card will be in that box until that first printing's done. Then they won't. So if you are ordering this online, be cautious that maybe they're not using the right image or not. If you're trying to hope to get the one with the promo card. If you're in the store, though, or physically picking this up, you'll be able to read that. So just a heads up there. But we have DD from Dexter's Laboratory. Once during each of your turns, you may destroy an equipment in your discard pile. If you do, draw 3 cards. Alright, so we're going to get into what all the cards do, so you have an idea. So you're going to start with Punchies. These are your main starter cards. Now, there's an entire deck of these, because if you are playing up to however many players you're going to play in this game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You start with 7 of these. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2. This I could play up to 6 players, I believe. Seems like an awful lot, but that might be right. 2 to 4 players. So I can't count. That's alright though. But you start these punchy cards, you start with a bunch of these in here. And these are your basic cards. So they have 0 cost, so they'll never have a cost value. They have 0 victory points. And they'll give you 1 power. So every time you play one, you'll gain 1 power to purchase another card. And then as you go through the game, you're going to want to try and get rid of those to use your better cards. Then the second set of cards you're going to get are pratfalls, which you'll get 3 of them. That way you start a deck with 10 cards. Basically, these are bad cards. So this says, starter, put a weakness into your discard pile on the bottom of the... Put a weakness in your discard pile on the bottom of the weakness stack. So these aren't necessarily bad. They don't do anything to help you generally, but they also don't typically hurt you. But if you do draw a weakness card, they'll let you get rid of one, so you don't have to worry about playing it. Because if you get a weakness card, it goes to your discard pile. Then when you draw it, as soon as you draw it, you have to play it, and it's going to have a bad effect. This lets you get rid of those weaknesses. So keeping these around isn't a terrible bad idea. They just don't give you any extra power. The third semi-starter card are called Inside Jokes. So you get a big deck of these that are all the same. So what these are is this is a deck that sits aside outside the game field, outside of that main lineup, that everyone always has access to buy. So it costs 2 and it gives you 2 power. So what this essentially is, like on your first turn, if you don't see anything else you want, you can spend 2 cards to buy one of these. Now the next time you play that, you're going to have an additional 2 power. So it's twice, basically it replaces 2 of these cards. Which is what you might want to do, is then get rid of those 2 cards, and then you'll draw this, plus another card, instead of them other cheaper ones. But you also don't want to load your deck up with these. They're nice to start with, but you don't want to have too many of them, because they have no victory points. so they don't help you that way. And if you get too many, you won't draw any of your other good cards. But they're always available if you need them in a pinch. Again, not bad to maybe buy the first turn, maybe second turn, just so you have some extra cards. Then we're going to look at weakness cards, which are green. So you've also noticed the cards all have different colors. So yellow cards are going to be your starter cards. Green cards are weakness. We have blue cards, which are heroes. Red cards, which are villains. Orange cards, which are superpowers. And these kept all the same class types as we have gray cards, which are equipment, as the DC game. And I think that was just to make it easier. Some of the other deck building games tend to change these. We have locations, which are purple. And then we do have Nemesis cards, which we'll look at later. But yeah, this is just so you can kind of look at these cards and they're very easy to figure out. They have another deck building game like Rick and Morty, which adds different types, so it gave them different colors. Other games like Naruto or Street Fighter might keep some of the same terms. They might change the name of them. So maybe it might not say hero or villain. It might say something else. But it might be the same color card. Just to kind of keep that flow of all these games being the same. Alright, so if we draw this weakness, and we're going to have to read through all of these. So we're going to do these in the same order we get our character cards. We have Johnny Bravo's. One Track Mind. During your turn, play weakness cards before you play other cards. So it's all the time. You always play them first. You may only buy or gain cards of one type this turn. So that's one, so either hero, villain, location, equipment. So it just reduces what you can do. And these also are worth 0 VP. And once you play them, they go back into your discard pile. And that's where you want to play your pratfall to get rid of those. From Steven Universe, we have Dave Guy. Did I not? Oh, I did not put these ones in order. Alright. Let me pull these out. One sec. Alright, and we're back. I just want to do the same TV shows in a row. Now, what also is interesting, so in the breakup of all these different types of cards, you're not going to always have the same. So you're not going to always have, three Johnny Bravo, 3 Courage, 3 Dexter's Lab. They're going to kind of vary depending on what makes sense for the thing. So, like, Dexter's Lab is on more equipment because it makes more sense for him. Whereas, Dexter's Lab might not have any might not even have any superpower cards because it doesn't really have superpowers. And you'll see that also in, like, the second set when you get to some of them characters, like that one also has Powerpuff Girls, which has a lot of superpower cards. Yes, there's always a different proportion of what they have. So you have Afraid of Clowns. You cannot smile or laugh this turn. If you do so, gain a weakness. Now, this is where the game very much differs. Starts to differ from the other deck building games in general, especially like the DC or like some of the other ones I mentioned, because this has the physical interactions you have to do. So some people don't like to do that stuff. So it's up to you whether or not you want to do this or not. If you're not going to, you could probably pull out some of the cards, especially if you have both sets. You might be able to pull out some of them to do this, so you could avoid these. But like some things like the fist bump or the rock, paper, scissors, you kind of have to do. So you kind of have to have an open mind to play these types of games. If you're going to be like, no, I refuse to do these, well, that kind of makes the game not as fun. But if you're not going to be you're going to be that kind of like stubborn person, you probably aren't going to play a Cartoon Network game. You'll probably pick up one of the other games. We have Repeated Rejection. At the end of your turn, place this card on the bottom of your deck. Vanity. You cannot play pratfall cards this turn. Then for the regular show, we have Laziness. You cannot play any cards that share a name with another card you already played this turn. Out of Chairs. You cannot buy equipment this turn. Unleash the Destroyer of Worlds. Destroy a card in your hand. From Clarence, we have Belsing Bucks. Destroy a starter or gain a starter card from the destroyed pile. Toy you can't play with. You cannot buy cards that cost 5 this turn. I don't get it. You cannot play inside joke cards this turn. From the world of Gumball, we have Allergic. Place the first card you buy or gain this turn in any foe's discard pile. Samurai Jack, we have Wounded. At the end of your turn, draw 4 cards instead of the usual 5. Flung Forward in Time. You cannot defeat Nemesis cards this turn. Mistaken Identity. Flip your character face down until the end of your turn. Its ability turns off. And Singled Out. The current Nemesis immediately group attacks you only. You may avoid it if able. Courage, the Cowardly Dog. We have Cowardice. Discard a card from your hand. Paralyzed with Fear. Each foe may discard a card, then draw a card. From Steven Universe, we have Dave Guy. You cannot buy cards with a cost of 4 this turn. No More Cookie Cat. You cannot buy cards with a cost of 6 or greater from the lineup this turn. Adventure Time. Stripped of magical powers. You cannot buy superpowers this turn. Jealousy. You cannot buy hero cards this turn. From Dexter's Laboratory. Interfering Sister. Discard a random card from your hand. Lost Van Halen's Guitar. You cannot draw cards this turn. Hand refill happens at the end of your turn. Just saying, make sure you know you can still draw cards at the end of your turn. Bullied. Thought this was Egg Nitty for a moment. You cannot buy cards with cost 3 this turn, and then finally we have Short. You cannot play cards with a cost of 6 or greater this turn. So I like that they're all different little effects versus the normal weaknesses in the game just don't do anything. It kind of almost makes weaknesses worse to get, because before it's just like, oh great, so instead of having 5 cards, now I have 4 cards in my hand, essentially. Here it's like, now instead of having 5 cards, you have 4 cards, plus something bad might happen. Might reduce your hand, might limit what you can do. Then we have the event cards. So when you draw these, you immediately do stuff. So this is when you refill the lineup at the beginning of the turn. So essentially, if I buy a card, this, and then the next player is going to draw this, so it could hurt them. So the more cards you buy, potentially the more event cards that might pop out and hurt them. So it's an interesting way to look at that. So it's really, competitive thing. So it wouldn't hurt a fly. Players cannot destroy cards until the start of your next turn. This includes you. Save Christmas. You have to take Santa's place and deliver presents. Pass 1 card from your discard pile to each foe's discard pile. Which is nice about those is you can pass starter cards, you can pass weakness cards, you can give them bad things if you want. From regular show, we have My Mom. Tell your worst My Mom joke using your best muscle man impression. Each player who doesn't high-five you afterwards discards a card. Just again, interactions. Quartz, Parchment, Shears. Rock, paper, scissors. You play rock, paper, scissors with the player to your left. Best 2 out of 3 rounds, the winner draws a card. From Clarence, we have One Arm Tied Behind My Back. Everyone must use 1 hand to start your next turn. Each time a player uses 2 hands, they gain a weakness. Sleepover. All your foes are asleep. You may not pass them any cards or play any of their cards this turn. They automatically avoid all of your attacks. Honk. Everyone in turn must make the most annoying sound possible. A player who makes the most annoying sound draws a card. Zoo Powers Go. Everyone this turn must act like a different zoo animal convincingly for 10 seconds or gain a weakness. From the world of Gumball, we have Compulsive Singing Disorder. For the start of your next turn, you must loudly sing at least part of each sentence you speak. For each turn which you slip up, gain a weakness. Hold your breath. Everyone must hold their breath until the turn is over. Anyone who cannot gains a weakness. This includes you. Red Hot Lava. For the duration of this turn, the floor and the tabletop are made of lava. Each player may touch things that are on the floor or table, but if they touch the surface of either, they must destroy the top card of their deck. Gravity is your enemy. Your own personal gravity is increased for the duration of this turn. If you cannot convincingly show this your foes, you gain a weakness. Left arm twins. For the duration of this turn, your left arm must now do what the player your right arm does. The first time you slip up, gain a weakness. From Samurai deck, you have ally or enemy. Each time you buy a card from the lineup this turn, add the top card of the main deck to the lineup. If that added card matches the cost of the card you bought, destroy the card you bought. Clever disguise. When you speak of this turn, use the voice of your character. Use the voice of your character. You must say the name of each card you buy or gain at minimum. Each time you slip up, gain a weakness. From Courage the Cowardly Dog, we have my name's not blank. Each time each player makes up a nickname for the player to their left. That player must use these nicknames for the rest of the game. Each time the player slips up, they gain a weakness. Cowardice. Put all your cards you buy or gain this turn under your character. When the current Nemesis is defeated, discard all cards under your character. From Adventure Time, we have Rescue the Princesses. For each female hero you buy or gain this turn, draw an additional card at the end of your turn. Dexter's Laboratory, Dancing Machine. Everyone must dance like a robot for 10 seconds or gains a weakness. And finally, Invention Gone Haywire. Each time you play a new card type this turn, make the sound effect that we make based on the name or artwork. Each time you slip up, gain a weakness. Now, these are definitely a new thing. They have not had anything like this in the, I'm going to keep comparing these to the DC one, because I haven't played the other one, so I can't compare it to those. But they haven't had anything else like this. Now, this is a deck cards you could definitely leave out of the game if you didn't want to have that extra difficulty. So maybe like the first time or two playing a game with people, that might be something to leave out just to get used to how you buy cards or place things and not have all these other weird things you have to try and remember how to do. Alright, so now we're going to look at heroes. Now this does another thing the DC game doesn't do, is it adds the word male or female. DC cards, again, they generally just do whatever they do. This is a game, again, it might rely on artwork or sound effects and things like that, so it does add that aspect to it. There are other games that might do that as well, but this one does. I know this one does. The DC doesn't. So we have Susie from Johnny Bravo. +1 power. You pay 1 less to buy female heroes or villain cards this turn. Johnny Bravo himself. +2 power. Attack. Each foe discards a female hero or female villain. +1 power for each card. Discard this way. Now their cost is in the bottom corner, and this is how many victory points they're worth. Typically, the lower the cost, they're only worth 1. Some of the higher ones might be worth maybe 2, maybe 3. But lots of your points are going to come from the Nemesis cards. So you could buy a lot of regular cards, but you might have to buy 5 or 6 regular cards to equal one person beating a Nemesis. And then the attacks, if you attack somebody, you pick another foe, which is another player, and then you do whatever it says. We have Rigby from the regular show, +1 power. Choose a foe to play rock, paper, scissors with. The winner draws a card. Mordecai, +1 power. Choose a foe to play rock, paper, scissors. Winner draws a card. Skips. With the top card of your deck, you may destroy it or leave it. I'm going to stop reading the power number because it's extra. We have Margaret. Choose a foe to play rock, paper, scissors with. The winner draws a card. You can see kind of the theming behind each class, or each show, I guess. We have Clarence. We have Jeff. Defense. You may discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, draw 2 cards. So at the end of your turn, you always draw your hand. So you have a new hand beginning of your turn. And then up until your turn, if anyone attacks you, you could discard this to not take that attack. And then you also get to draw 2 cards. It replaces it and gets an extra card. So it's, kind of nice. Sumo. You may pass a card from your discard pile to the hand of any foe. Nature Cake. You may destroy a weakness you played this turn. Its effect turns off. And then Clarence himself. You may pass this card from your hand to each foe's discard pile. For each card passed this way, +2 power. From the world of Gumball, we have Nicole Watterson. Defense, you may discard this to avoid an attack. So now she doesn't get to gain extra cards, but she's also probably a little bit cheaper. Richard Watterson. Play one card of each different card type in the lineup. After playing them, return all of them. So this is a cost of 7. So the 7 cost cards are basically like your superpower, super rare ones, so they do a lot of really good things. Normally if I was doing like the DC or whatever, I would just do these in power order, but I wanted to do these grouped by cartoon show. So we have Gumball Watterson, +1 power for each different type you play or have played this turn. Darwin Watterson. Defense, you may discard this to avoid an attack. If you do, draw 2 cards. If they share a card type, discard a card. Penny Fitzgerald, you may destroy a card in your hand. And Onassis Watterson, draw a card. It doesn't gain you any power, but having an extra card is definitely helpful, because you could draw something like this. We have Jack from Samurai Jack, +3 power, and he has defense. If you use the defense, draw 2 cards, and the attacker gains a weakness. From Courage, we have Muriel Bag. You may discard a card. If you do, +1 power and draw a card. Courage, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. From Steven Universe, we have Steven Universe himself, which he also has Gem added in there. So he's a male Gem hero. +2 power for each gem you play or have played this turn, including this card. Defense, you may avoid this attack. If you do, draw 2 cards. Amethyst, +2 power for each gem you play or have played this turn. Garnet, +2 power for each gem you have played or played this turn. And Pearl, +2 power for each gem you play or have played this turn. Then from Adventure Time, we get Jake. Fist bump a foe, then you each draw a card. Princess Bubblegum, fist bump a foe, that foe chooses whether you draw 2 cards or get +3. Beemo, +1 power and fist bump a foe. And Fing, fist bump a foe, then you each draw a card. And Marceline. Defense, you may avoid this. If you do, draw 2 cards. She also gets +1 power and draws a card. Then from Dexter's Lab, we have D. It says draw a card, you may destroy an equipment in your hand. If you do, +power equal to its cost. Dexter, draw a card, you pay 1 less to buy equipment this turn. And then Major Glory. Draw a card, +2 for each superpower you play or have played this turn. You can see how some of the different characters from each one kind of work together. Like Dee lets you destroy equipment to gain extra bonuses, but Dexter can buy them for cheaper. Or like Johnny Bravo, he gets extra bonuses from playing female heroes, versus Susie making them cheaper to buy. So they kind of all work a little bit together. Then we're going to look at enemies. So villains. Now we don't have any for Johnny Bravo, because he didn't really have any villains in the show. So we're going to start with the regular show, the Hammer. Attack. So villains have a lot more attack cards. And it looks like they have a little bit higher power, but they don't have as much drawing or gaining card effects that the heroes have. So it's kind of the offset. So each foe gains a weakness unless they push their chair away from the table and stand until the start of the next turn. And then Gene, attack each foe, discards a location they control. From the world of Gumball, we have Jamie, +1 power and choose a foe. Attack, that foe discards a card. Miss Simeon, attack each foe, puts the top card of their deck into their discard pile unless it's a weakness. Rob, +2 power and choose a card type. Attack each foe, discards a card of that type. Coach, attack each foe, reveals their hand. Each foe revealing the highest cost card discards it. From Samurai Jack, we have Demon Go. Gain a villain from the lineup. She can be very powerful. And then Mad Jack, +2 power, each bow gains a weakness. From Courage, the colorway dog, we have Eustace Bag. Attack, each foe discards a card and gains a weakness. And Le Quack. +2 power, choose a foe, that foe discards a card at random. And then Freaky Fred. Each foe discards a Punchy. From Steven Universe, we have Ringo. Attack, each foe must eat an onion ring in the next 20 seconds. Each foe who does not gains a weakness. Onion, choose a card. You play this card and play it again. Effects and powers generated the first time you play remain. That's actually a very powerful card. Lapis Lazuli, destroy a card in your hand for each gem you already played this turn. Forgot. Attack, each foe who does not discard a weakness gains one. From Adventure Time, I think I'm gonna round a room on there. We have Magic Man. Choose a foe. That foe discards all weakness cards, then +1 power to equal the number of cards in that foe's hand. Gunther, +2 power and fist bump a foe. Choose which you draws a card and which you destroys a card in their hand. And then Earl of Lemongrab. When you are excluded from a fist bump, you may reveal this card from your hand. If you do, draw a card and say unacceptable. Kind of fun. Alright, up next we have orange cards, which are superpowers. So we have Johnny Bravo, we have Irresistible. Draw a card for each female hero and villain you've already played this turn. And Jungle Boy Strength, +2 power and draw a card. So superpowers tend to have a lot more power numbers than the other cards. From regular, so we have Death Kwon Do. 3 power, attack, each foe discards a card in their hand and draws 4 cards. Or discards their hand and draws 4 cards. If you played rock, paper, scissors this turn, this attack cannot be avoided. From the world of Gumball, we have Joy Virus. Draw a card and reveal the top card of your deck. If the card types of those 2 cards do not match, repeat this process. Weeping Perry from Samurai Jack. Defense, may discard this to avoid an attack. If you do draw a card, the attacker gains a weakness. From Steven Universe, we have Bubble. Put this card in the bottom of your deck. Defense, you may reveal this card from your hand to avoid an attack. If you do, put it back into your hand. This is kind of neat. So it's like a almost permanent defense. If you do get to use it as defense, you get to put it back in your hand. You can keep using it. But if you don't use it, it goes back to your deck, so you might draw it fairly quick. Shape-shifting. Each time an event happens during any player's turn, you may reveal this card from your hand. If you do, draw a card. From Adventure Time, we have Friendship. Fist bump any number of foes. You and each of those foes draw a card. +1 power for each foe you chose this way. Stretching. Fist bump 2 different foes at the same time. You and each of them draw a card. And Wizard Powers. Defense, you may discard this to avoid an attack. If you do, reveal the top card of your deck. You may draw it or destroy it. From Steven Universe, we have Gem Fusion. You may put up to 2 cards, each of the cost of 4 or less from your discard pile into your hand. If you choose not to, draw a card. And from Dexter's Laboratory, Super Science. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it's an equipment, plus power equal to its cost. If not, draw it. Alright, getting towards the end of these. So we have some more equipment. We have Hair Cement from Johnny Bravo. 1 additional power for each female hero villain in the lineup. From regular show, we have Benson's Clipboard. Defense, and if you do, draw a card. Mystery Pinata from Clarence. Gain the top card of the main deck. If it's an event, destroy it. And defense, if you do, gain the top card of the main deck. If it's an event, destroy it. Clarence Dollars. You may pass cards you played this turn to any foe's discard pile. Samurai Jack, we have Jack's Sword. Defense, you may discard this to avoid an attack. If you do, draw a card, and an attacker gains a weakness, which is Jack's big thing. The Slab from Courage the Cowardly Dog. Defense, if you do, draw a card, an additional 2 cards if you avoided a group attack. Courage's Computer, you may discard a card if you do draw a card. Steven Universe, we have Legendary Glass of Time. You may destroy a card in your hand or discard pile. Defense, if you do draw a card. Rose's Light Cannon. +1 power, draw a card. Defense. If you do, put a hero from your discard pile into your hand or draw a card. From Adventure Time, we get Card Wars game. Fist bump a foe. That foe draws a card and then reveals their hand. Choose a card from their hand, play it, and then return it at the end of your turn. And Baking Pancakes. +1 power, draw a card. From Dexter's Lab, we get Robotic Exoskeleton. Plus power equal to the cost of another equipment you already played this turn. And then a big one, we have Backwards Belt. If this is your first card you played this turn, discard your hand, put up to 5 equipment cards from your discard pile into your hand, otherwise 3 power. Oh, we got one more that was still left on the table. We have Time Machine. You may put this card on top of your deck. Defense, if you do, just to avoid an attack. Alright. Then we have locations. Locations are a little bit more special. So when you play a location, they have this ongoing ability. So normally you play cards, end of your turn, they all go to your discard pile, you draw a new hand. Locations stay out, and they give you constant effects. So there's going to be one for each different group. Now, in like most of the other DC games, whenever they had locations, they only had usually about 4 of them. So four, so like one for each player can get. This is going to have a lot more because there's one that goes with each group of characters. So we're going to have Pop's Moon Palace from Johnny Bravo. Ongoing, the first time you play a female hero or villain, during each of your turns, draw a card. The Park from Regular Show. Once during each of your turns, you may choose a foe to rock, paper, scissors with. The winner draws a card. Elmore from Gumball. If you play 3 or more different card types during your turn, draw a card. Samurai Jack, the Dome of Doom. The first time you play a villain during each of your turns, draw a card. From Courage, we have Nowhere, Kansas. If you discard 1 or more cards during your turn, draw a card. Steven Universe, we have Beach City. The first time you play a superpower during each of your turns, draw a card. Adventure Time, we have the Land of Ooh. Each time you fist bump during your turn, +1 power. And then Secret Laboratory. Ongoing, the first time you play an equipment during each of your turns, draw a card. Yeah, so it's kind of fun. Each one kind of works with each of their characters. So if you're playing like Dexter, you're going to probably want the Dexter cards. You're playing it. So you kind of theme it that way, makes it a little bit easier to build a deck. Then sure, the more of the vagueness that's the DC one. Alright, now we're going to look at Nemesis. So in the DC game, they're called supervillains instead of just regular villains. But here they're just called Nemesis. And they changed that because even the DC game is now changing that. I don't know if they're going to change on their card types or not, but because you can play heroes or villains, or some people might be classified as one or the other. They didn't really want it tied down. Alright, but each again with the locations, we're going to get 1 for each different character. There are going to be various different power levels, but they're a lot higher. So these are it goes anywhere from 9 to 12. And they have a lot higher VP, so they have 5s and 6s. So again, you'd have to beat one of these, like King Raymond, someone else would have to buy 5 other regular cards, generally, to be able to equal the victory points. So you get 1 or 2 of these, someone else is going to have to do a lot more work to catch back up to you. So you have King Raymond. Put one card with the cost of 4 or less of each card type from your discard pile into your hand. So that's the effect you get when you purchase this card. So you beat him, it goes to your discard pile, you get to use that effect. But the group attack is what happens when he appears. So when he appears, each player discards one card type, or one of each card from each player discards one card of each card type from their hand. Blech. Okay, that's a weird tongue twister for some reason. Now that only happens when they first appear, so that does never happen again when you play it. When you play it from your hand, we have Icrodrom and Yigor, which have +4 power. Otherwise, for the group attacking you, they have this attack cannot be avoided. All players play one round of rock, paper, scissors, gain 1 weakness for each foe who beats you. From Clarence, we have Joshua, +2 power, choose a foe, that foe gains a weakness. And then group attack, each player puts a card from their hand on top of their head. Then continue playing. The first player to let their spell off, using no hands, gains 2 weakness cards, then each player discards their card. From Gumball, we have Tina Rex, +2 power, destroy up to 2 cards in your hand or discard pile. And then group attack, each player puts both elbows on the table, then the play continues. The first player who lifts an elbow gains 3 weaknesses. From Samurai Jack, we have Aku. You may put up to 2 villains from your discard pile into your hand. If you choose not to, +3 power. In group attack, each player destroys a hero in their hand or discard pile. From Courage, we have Cats. Draw 4 cards, then discard any 2 cards from your hand. Or group attack, each player discards 2 cards. From Courage, we have King Ramsey. You may gain all superpower cards from the lineup. If you choose not to, +3 power. Group attack, each player destroys a superpower card in their discard pile or hand. From Steven Universe, we have Jasper as a gem Nemesis, +2 power. Draw a card for each gem you already played this turn, including this card. Group attack, each player gains a weakness. You can avoid this attack. If you avoid this attack, discard a card. From Adventure Time, we have Ice King, who has +2 power. Once during each foe's turn, you may reveal this card from your hand and discard a weakness. Now, you'll see that this does not have a group attack. So when you're playing Ice, you're supposed to play them in power level order. So that way you're essentially playing... I mean, you can shuffle them, but they sometimes recommend playing them. So you beat an 8, then you have to beat one of the 2 9s, and one of the 2 11s, and one of the 2 12s, so on. Then that way you're kind of also randomizing who you're going to play, but Ice King should always be played first at 8 cost. And then we have from Dexter's Lab, we have Mandark, Astronaut. I'm not trying to read that a third time. You may gain all equipment cards from the lineup if you choose not to, +3 power. Group attack, each player destroys an equipment in their hand or discard pile. So now with lots of this game, what you can do, so that's all our cards for the base game. So before we jump into the second one, so one thing you can do, as I said, it's cooperative, competitive. So much like when I'm playing DC, I usually play cooperative. Our goal is, as a team, we need to try and just beat the Nemesis deck. And we'll pick how many random Nemesis we decide we want to play against for how long we think the game is. Or usually I'll just put the entire stack down. If it seems like the game's dragging on, taking us forever to beat some of them, then we might just reduce some. I might be like, well, instead of beating all, 9 guys or whatever, I might be like, yeah, we only need to beat 4. So we have to beat the next 2 to end the game. Like, if it starts to seem like it's dragging on. And the only time if it seems like it's dragging on, that's probably because you have players that aren't maybe actively into the game. Because if they're not, this is deck building games. There's a little bit of downtime between turns. But I mean, if you're not actively paying attention and into the game, and you're kind of just sitting there like, ooh, whatever, it's not my turn. And then, like, your turn, you're like, oh, I play 4 power, your turn. You're not really into the game. It's not going to be as fun. This is supposed to be, exciting. It's, that's, especially this one, which has all the extra stuff like fist bumping, or telling you to stand, or not to talk. or doing rock, paper, scissors, you really kind of gotta get into the mood of playing it. If you're just gonna be like, I play a card, 4 power, buy that card, your turn, don't play with other people. If that's my thought. If you're gonna just play that way and just rush through your turns and not seem like you're enjoying the game, don't play this type, especially this one, because this is a very social one. Yeah, I like to play co-op for those. And then at the end, if we win, we beat all the Nemesis, then we add up all our points, and whoever had the most wins. Because I've had some games where I played it where some people will just sit there and they'll get a slight advantage, and then they'll just keep buying every card, which means they're probably going to win when the game is over, which is a legit strategy if you're playing competitive. But it also means you can't. But we were playing like a full co-op, where there's a special mode that's only co-op. So then by the time we had the thing where everyone had to beat the Nemesis at the end, the other 3 players didn't have enough cards to do it, because this other person kept buying all the good cards every turn. They weren't sharing them. So that kind of where that competitive part came in. It made it hard to win, but we were playing a co-op mode, so that really sucked. Anyhow, that's just me. Alright, so let's jump into the other game. Let's see what new characters and villains and everything we're going to get. We're going to enter some new worlds, which is really fun. Alright, so our characters, we have Cow and Chicken. Mama had cow, Mama had chicken, Daddy was proud, he didn't care how. So Cow and Chicken are going to say, if you play 2 or more cards with a cost of 1, 2, or 3 during your turn, draw a card. So they're going to get different abilities, which is really fun. They could just rehash the original ones, but I like that they gave them different ones. We have Billy and Mandy from the Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. The first time you destroy a card each turn, +2 power. Uncle Grandpa from Uncle Grandpa, which I know nothing about. You may pay 1 less to buy Wonder Cards. Cards you play directly from the main deck have +1 power. From Adventure Time, we get Fiona and Kate. These are the female versions of Jake and Finn. They're like not exactly like the female, like they got sex change. They're like, I think they're. I've not seen a lot of Adventure Time, but I know a little bit about it. They're like from like an alternate universe, or like a TV show or something like that, and it's like their adventures, which kind of mirror the other ones. So the first time you fist bump a foe during your turn, draw a card. Yeah, and in this mirror universe, everyone's sex changed. It's just kind of fun. Ed, Ed, and Eddie from Ed, Ed, and Eddie. +1 power for each attack of your turn. For each attack you play during your turn. And the Powerpuff Girls from the Powerpuff Girls. If you have 3 or more heroes and or superpowers during your turn, +3 powers. Then the promo card, if you had that first printing, is you get Professor Utonium. At the start of each of your turns, you may put a card with a cost of 4 or less from your discard pile at the bottom of your deck. Interesting. Alright, so then we're going to have our Punchies, which are from Adventure Time. Just like the other one, we're going to get a giant stack of them. So you don't need to go through all of them. We have Pratfalls with Billy and Mandy. Put a weakness from your discard pile on the bottom of the weakness stack. Same effect. It's also kind of nice if you have these, you can mix and match them, so you're not always looking at the same pictures. We also have a stack of Inside Jokes with Ed, Ed, and Eddie. Give us that +2 power. Nothing different there. Then we have weaknesses. Alright, so what do our weaknesses do? From Cow and Chicken, we have Cooties. The player on your left chooses male or female. You cannot buy cards from the lineup of the chosen type this turn. The Ugliest Weenie. Put an Inside Joke from on your hand or discard pile onto the Inside Joke stack. From Grim Adventures of Billy and Maddie, we have Lonely. You cannot buy more than 1 card this turn. Left Out. Players to your left names a show. You cannot buy cards from the lineup from the chosen show this turn. Uncle Grandpa, we have Afraid of the Dark. You cannot buy villains from the lineup this turn. Grounded, reveal a top card of the main deck. You cannot play cards at the same cost as revealed cards this turn. From Adventure Time, we have Clumsy. If you play or have played a pratfall this turn, put this card on the bottom of the weakness stack. You also get -2 power. From Annihilation, we have Gullible. Reveal the top card of your deck. If it costs 1 or greater, discard it. Greedy. Each foe may destroy a card in their hand. Adventure Time, we have Flustered. Choose a foe, that foe draws a card. From Powerpuff Girls, we are going to get Burning Anger. The player to your left destroys a card in the lineup. And Panicked Mob. You cannot play cards worth 1 or more VP from characters from your character's show this turn. So if you're Powerpuff Girls, you can't play Powerpuff Girl cards. Again, like the character cards, I love that those are all different. They could have repeated a bunch of different stuff because this is a standalone set, but I love that they made them all different because it makes mixing these decks together even more fun. So our events from Colin Chicken, we have Ham It Up. So there are less cards in this set than the other one. Less characters, less shows, less different cards. So we have Ham It Up. Till the start of your next turn, each player must speak in an extreme dramatic manner during their turn. At the end of each player's turn, that player is slipped, they gain a weakness. From Billy and Mandy, we have a list off. Choose a show of one of the characters in the game. Starting with you, each player must name a different character from the chosen show. Continue until a player fails to name a new character. That player gains a weakness. Ooh, that could be very fun and funny. Depending on if you know the shows. Like, this set, like, you pick Powerpuff Girls, I could probably do fairly well. You pick Dexter's Lab from the first set, I could do very well. You pick Uncle Grandpa or Clarence, I'm probably going to be able to name Uncle Grandpa and Clarence, and that's it. I might be able to get a couple from some of the other shows just because I've seen or read enough about them, but some of them I wouldn't know anything about. We have Crossover Special. You gain a second character at random from outside the game to use during your turn. At the end of each player's turn, they pass that character to the player on their left. Then, if each player is taking at least one turn with that character, remove it from the game. That is funny. A Word Show from Uncle Grandpa. Starting with you, each player chooses a different show. Then reveal the top card of the main deck. If a player chooses a card show, they gain that card. Otherwise, put that card in the bottom of their deck. I love the theming of this set with having to deal with the card shows as an effect. Because there wasn't really much of that in the first set. Fan Fiction from Adventure Time. Tell a short story that includes all of the cards in the lineup. If all foes applaud your masterful fiction, draw a card. Otherwise, each foe discards a card. Share the Wealth from Ed, Edd and Eddy. Choose a foe, then choose one card in the lineup for yourself. For a different one of that foe, the foe chooses either to have you each gain your respective card, or destroy those cards, finally replace those two cards. And then from Powerpuff Girls, we have Extra Ingredient. Place a card from the lineup, or the main deck face down under each card in the lineup. When a player buys or gains one of those cards, they also gain the card under it. If one of those cards is destroyed, also destroy the card under it. Ooh, that's very interesting as well. Alright, on to our heroes. We have Chicken from Cow and Chicken. You may put an inside joke from your hand into the inside joke stack. If you do, draw 2 cards. Otherwise, you may get an inside joke and put it into your hand. We have Cow. You may put an inside joke from your hand into the inside joke stack. If you do, +5 power. Otherwise, you may get an inside joke. From Billy and Mandy, we have Billy. Defense. If you do, you may draw 2 cards. Fredburger says, when you buy or gain this card, you may say yes. If you do, destroy up to 2 cards in your hand and or discard pile. +2 power. Interesting, I haven't seen that yellow border before, or line. We have Irwin. You may destroy this card. If you do, draw 2 cards. Otherwise, draw a card. We have Grim. You may draw a card. You may destroy a card in your hand. If you do, plus power equal to that cost. And Mandy. You may destroy a card in your hand or discard pile. If you do, draw a number of cards equal to the destroyed card's VP value. From Uncle Grandpa, we have Uncle Grandpa. Wonder, and you may pay 2 less to buy cards from the lineup that you play directly from the main deck this turn. Belly Bag. You may look at the top card of the main deck. You may put it on the bottom of the main deck. And that work well with that Wonder card, because you get to put something down, but you get to look to see what's there first. Giant Realistic Flying Tiger. This is the first non-weakness card you played. Discard your hand, draw 4 cards, and then Wonder. Mr. Gus. Wonder Defense. You may discard this card to avoid an attack. If you do, draw 2 cards. And Pizza Steve. You may destroy a card in your hand if you do Wonder. And just a reminder of what Wonder does, it says reveal cards from the top of the main deck until you play a non-event, non-location card. Play that card, then add it to the lineup. Put the other revealed cards on the bottom of the main deck in any order. So basically you get to play a card from the deck for free, and then it stays out, and then the lineup gets bigger. Alright, so then we have Adventure Time. We have Cake. +5 power, and fist bump a foe. That foe draws a card. Fiona. +5 power, fist bump a foe. That foe draws a card. Lord Monochromiconicorn. Fist bump a foe. That foe draws a card. And Wonder. Lumpy Space Prince. Fist bump a foe. You each draw a card. You may destroy a card in your hand or discard pile. Prince Gumball. +1 power and fist bump a foe. That foe draws a card, then choose whether to draw a card or gain an additional 2 power. At Agnetti, we're going to get Egg. +2 power. Each foe gains a weakness unless they reveal a starter card from their hand. Double D. I love that they called him Double D instead of Egg. Draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. Attack. Then each foe draws a card and then discards 2 cards. And then Eddie, +2 power, choose a foe, attack. That foe destroys a non-weakness card in their hand. Johnny. You may play, if you have played a plank this turn, +4 power. Defense, you may discard this to avoid an attack. And then we have Plank. Reveal cards from the top of your deck and reveal 3 cards at the cost of 1 or less. Put those 3 cards into your hand, the rest into your discard pile. Powerpuff Girls, we're going to get Blossom. You may discard a card. If you do, draw a card. +1 power for each hero and or superpower you played or have played this turn. Bubbles. +1 power for each hero superpower you have played this turn. This kind of works similar to like the gem heroes, except for just heroes and superpowers instead of the gem characters. And then it says defense. If you do, draw a card. And then Buttercup. You may destroy a weakness in your discard pile, or have played this turn. +1 power for each superhero or superpower you have played or have played this turn. And then finally, Professor Utonium. Draw a card, then put a card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. Defense. If you do, draw a card, then put a card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. Alright. Our villains. We have Black Sheep. When you buy or gain this card, gain 2 weaknesses. +3 power. This is from Cow and Chicken. We have Sow. +2 power, choose a foe. That foe discards the top card of their deck. If it costs 1 or greater, they gain a weakness. Teacher, reveal the top 3 cards of your deck. If it costs 3 or less, draw it and Wonder. From Billy and Mandy, we have Iris. +1 power, choose a foe. Attack. That foe discards a card at random. +power equal that card's VP value. General Scar. You may destroy this card. If you do, +4 power. Otherwise, +2 power. Hoss Delago. +3 power. From Uncle Grandpa, we have Funny Face Head. When you buy or gain this card, choose a foe. That foe gains a weakness unless they make a funny face. +2 power. Math Homework Man. X power. Solve for X in the equation on the picture above. So it's +5 power. That's funny. Nacho Cheese. You may buy or gain this card. Put it on top of your deck. +2 power. We have, from Adventure Time, we have Marshall Lee. +1 power. Draw a card. Choose a foe. Attack that foe. Discards a card. From Ed and Eddie, we got Jimmy. +1 power. When you are attacked, you may reveal this card. If you do, the attacker gains a weakness. Kevin. +2 power defense. You may discard this to avoid an attack. If you do, draw a card and the attacker gains a weakness. And Sarah. Draw a card and defense. If you do, draw a card and the attacker gains a weakness. From Powerpuff Girls, we're going to get Fuzzy Lumpkins. +2 power, choose a foe. Attack. The foe discards a location they control. Him, +4 power. Princess Mortarbucks. Gain a card with a cost of 4 or less from the lineup. And finally, we have the Gangrene Gang. +1 power, choose a foe. Draw a card for each Nemesis in that foe's discard pile. Alright. Let's look at our superpowers. The orange ones. We have Super Cow Alarascate from Cowling Chicken. +2 powers. Defense, you may reveal this card from your hand to discard it, or an inside joke to avoid an attack. If you do, draw a card. From Billy Mandy, we're going to get Evil Laugh. +2 power. If you destroy or have destroyed one or more cards this turn, wonder. Spin Off. You may destroy a card from your hand. If you do, you may gain a card with a cost of 2 or greater from the destroyed card's cost from the lineup. From Uncle Grandpa, we have Good Morning, just wonder. Body Doubles. You may choose a card you played this turn and play it again. The effects and powers generated first time remain. If you choose not to, wonder. You could play the last card and you could do wonder multiple times. Danger Sense. Fist from Adventure Time. Fist bump a foe. If you do, each draw a card. Defense, if you do, fist bump a foe, that foe draws a card. You can fist bump a different foe, not the one that attacked you. Ice Block. +2 power, choose a foe. That foe flips their character card face down to the end of their next turn. From Ed and Eddie, we have Scam Artist. If you play or have played an attack, then none of your foes have avoided this turn. +4 power, otherwise +2. From Powerpuff Girls, we got Who's Got the Power. +2 power for each hero and or superpower you played or have played this turn. If you have played Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup this turn, defeat each Nemesis in the Nemesis stack. But just like win the game? That's crazy. Light Construct. Choose a foe, attack. That foe discards the top card of their deck. Non-ongoing card was discarded this way. When it leaves play, return it. Then we have some equipment. In the form of Pork Butt Catapult. +1, choose a foe. That foe gains a weakness unless they put an inside joke from their hand or discard pile into the inside joke stack. So I love this as Colin Chickens are really playing on the inside joke, which the first set didn't do. So it kind of like completes this set. So we have the Reaper Scythe from Billy and Mandy. Defense, if you do, you may draw a card and may destroy a card in your discard pile. Grimm's Trunk, which is the top 2 cards of your deck. Leave one on top and destroy the other. Plus power equal to the destroyed cost. From Uncle Grandpa, we have Laser Hammer. You may destroy a card in the lineup. Wonder. From Annihilation, we have Jawbreaker. If you have Plague or Plaguing Attack that none of your foes have avoided this turn, plus 5 power, otherwise 3. The Canadian Squirt Gun. Plus 1 power. If you have Plague or Plaguing Attack none of your foes have avoided this turn, Wonder. From Adventure Time, we have Flapjack Sword. Plus 3 power, fist bump a foe, that foe draws a card. Crystal Sword, plus 4 powers, fist bump a foe, that foe draws a card. With Star Sword, plus 7, double fist bump a foe, that foe draws 2 cards. So they basically give lots of bonuses for having a fist bump. The Powerpuff Hotline from Powerpuff Girls. Put a hero or superpower from your discard pile into your hand. And then Chemical X. Plus 1 power. If you have Plague or have played a superpower or hero this turn, Wonder. We also did miss, because it was mixed in with all the rest of the cards, we had one more event for Billy and Mandy, which was called Stare Down. If you choose a foe, you and that foe have a staring contest. The first person to blink or lapse or looks away gains a weakness. Alright, then we're on to our locations. Colin Chicken's house. Ongoing cards at the cost of 1, 2, or 3 of Plague have plus 1 power. Engsville from Grim and Mangy. Once during each of your turns, you may destroy a card in the lineup and replace it. From Uncle Grandpa, the UGRV. Once during each of your turns, you may discard a card if you do Wonder. Marshmallowy Moegos from Adventure Time. Once during each of your turn, you may fist bump a foe if you do plus 2 power, and that foe draws a card. From Egg Nitty, you have Eggtropolis. The first attack you play during each of your turns cannot be avoided. Townsville from Powerpuff Girls. The first time you play a hero or superpower, each of your turns draw a card and then discard a card. And then finally, we are on to the Nemesis. We have, from Colin Chicken, we have the big red guy. You may gain up to 2 inside joke cards and put them into your hand if you choose not to, plus 3 power. Group attack. Each player gains 2 weaknesses unless they put an inside joke from their hand or discard pile into the inside joke stack. From Billy and Mandy, we have Nurgle. You may choose up to 2 cards that you have played this turn. Play them again, then destroy them. Their effect remains, otherwise 3 power. Group attack. Each player reveals a random card in their hand. And either destroys that card or destroys each other card in their hand. Oh boy. From Uncle Grandpa, we have Aunt Grandma. Draw 2 cards, then each player passes a card from their hand to the hand of the player on their left. Group attack. Each player passes a card from their hand to the player on their left. If you received a card with a 1 or greater, gain a weakness and put it into your hand. From Adventure Time, we have Ice Queen. You may gain all male cards from the lineup. If you choose not to, plus 3 power. Group attack. Each player puts a male card from their hand or discard pile into the lineup. From Egg Netty, we have the Canker Sisters. Plus 2 power, and then attack is each foe who does not discard a weakness gains a weakness and puts it into their hand. So this is your starting card. And then our final Nemesis is from Powerpuff Girls is Mojo Jojo. You may put up to 2 cards from each cost of 5 or less from your discard pile into your hand if you choose not to, plus 3 power. Group attack. Each player discards a card with a cost of 5 or greater. Each player who cannot gains a weakness. Alright. That was a lot. Alright, so that was our second one. That was Animation Annihilation. So, with both of the Cartoon Network crossovers, yeah, I would say if you buy one, you're probably going to want to pick up the other one because they really add a lot more of extra stuff to the other one. They haven't made any more. These came out in 2016 and 2017. So they've had a few years and they haven't made any more, so I don't think they're probably going to add more, although I would love to definitely see more sets. Not only are there other different Cartoon Network things they could definitely do, I get where some of them are, things that are on Cartoon Network but aren't owned by Cartoon Network, kind of like stuff like Scooby-Doo, like Flintstones, Jetsons, things like that. Some of the older stuff that have been around, or some of the newer stuff that might have been on there might not, work with this. But there's other stuff I would definitely love to see. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what there is. I'm thinking like, wait, this character. I'm like, nope, that's not Cartoon Network. That's Nickelodeon, or that's Disney. But yeah, I would love to see other sets for this. That'd be cool. Or even just like an upgrade set for all these, because there's a lot of characters that got left out. So even if they did like a third one where they just took more stuff from each of these two sets, like maybe left out some of the series that weren't maybe as popular or as well known. But I mean, there's definitely more Adventure Time characters they could add in there. Samurai Jack, Dexter's Lab, like definitely they didn't have Monkey in there. They didn't have, all of the, they didn't have like his dad or his mom, which would have been fun. Different characters like that. Steven Universe, I don't know if they got every single one of the gem characters because they might have done this before the show ended. I was trying to think, like Powerpuff Girls, I didn't see, like they had the mayor, but they didn't have the mayor's assistant. There was other various villains they could definitely have done as well. Should have been cool. Others I was also thinking, like Johnny Bravo, they didn't have like Mama at all, which I was very surprised by. So they could do a really neat upgrade set to this, just like a third set, which just adds some more to each of the different classes. Which would be kind of cool. But that's just my thoughts. So yeah, if you do enjoy deck building games, you want something that's a little bit, maybe more kid friendly, a little bit more interactive, this is definitely one to go with. Like maybe if you looked at the DC ones and you're like, don't really care for superheroes, I'm not a DC fan, this is a definite option that sits with the same vein. Like I said, they have a lot other in this same style, which is called the Cerberus engine. This game is by Cryptic Zoic, which is, there's their logo right up there. Cryptic Zoic makes these. Like I said, they have Lord of the Rings stuff. They have Naruto, Street Fighter. They have an NHL one if you want hockey. Rick and Morty. Technically, all of these sets could be combinable. They just have different rules. Like this would have Fist Bump. You wouldn't run into the Fist Bump or Inside Joke or some of these other cards is often if you mix this with DC. That would be the only issue you start running into. Alright, hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye.